In the beginning of the drama, female lead Ayn Rand talks about herself. She says, "I was the most famous girl in school, and I'm always busy with my company." Then we see Ayn Rand talking to an investor, and everything she says is fake. Similarly, she meets another investor. After talks everywhere, when she's on her way back home, her mom texts her, "How are you? Eat on time and come home soon." Then we meet main lead Yan Yue, also known as He Sha. He's a voice actor, and at 11 p.m. he sits down to do his show. Everyone is listening him carefully, and Ran is also listening to his show. Once Yan Yu finishes his show, his director tells him, "You've rejected every project. Do you even want to work? Otherwise, I'll be as poor as you." Then we see Ayn Rand moving to a new house. The house she's moving to isn't anyone else's, it's actually Yan Yue's house, because his mom had rented it out. And Ran is setting up her things while talking to an investor. When the guy comes to help with the stuff, he says, "First give me the money, then I'll help." And Rand tells him, "I'll pay you in installments." He says, "Fine, I'll put your stuff in installments too." But Ayn Rand quickly responds, "No, don't do that." On the other hand, Yan Yue's mom calls him and says, "I've rented out your house." Yan Yue replies, "You know I don't talk to strangers, so you'll handle the deal." But his mom refuses, saying, "I'm too busy, you'll have to handle this deal yourself." In the meantime, Yan Yue notices there's a lot of noise outside, and a lot of things are scattered. He thinks to himself, "It looks like that girl is here." He goes out and sees Ayn Rand arguing with someone, asking him to leave her things, but the guy says, "Give me $500 first, then I'll let you have it." After seeing this, Yan Yue pays the guy himself, and Rand asks him, "Who are you?" He replies, "The house you're staying in is my family's, and the money I just gave him, I will cut it from your rent." And Rand says, "No, I won't give you the money back." Yan Yue responds, "Fine, then leave my house too." Until now, Yan Yue hasn't properly looked at her, but as soon as he does, he's left staring at her. And Ran asks, "Do you know me?" Yan Yue doesn't answer and leaves. Later, when Ayn Rand is setting up her house, Yan Yue comes again. She looks at him and says, "Mr. Landlord, you're here? I'll make space for you. Sit here." Yan Yue tells her, "I came here to sign a contract with you." Then he says, "You'll have to pay 3 months' rent in advance." And Rand thinks to herself, "I can't pay the advance right now. I've already paid 1 month's rent in advance." She asks him, "Did you study at the same school?" Yan Yue gets happy, realizing that Ayn Rand remembers. But when Ayn Rand says, "Your mom told me about it," he understands that she's trying to dodge the rent talk. And Rand asks him, "Since we studied at the same school, can I get some time to pay the rent?" Yan Yue asks, "How much time?" Just then, Ayn Rand receives a call and tells Yan Yue, "Mr. Landlord, you can leave. I'll pay you the rent soon." Later, she is talking on the phone, saying, "I'm searching for investors and I'll be successful soon." Meanwhile, Yan Yu comes back and he starts his voice acting work again. And he tells how, in the past, he used to secretly watch Ayn Rand, but she never noticed him. Then we see a party scene where Ayn Rand makes her entry in a very luxurious car, looking very stylish. She hopes that someone will be impressed by her and agree to invest in her company. And Rand stands next to a girl who could potentially invest in her company. Yan Yue also makes his entry at the same party, goes and sits with his friends, and from there he keeps watching Ayn Rand from a distance, while Ayn Rand is sitting with the girl, giving her guidelines about her gaming company. At the same time, Yan Yue texts her, "When will you return my rent?" But Ayn Rand ignores the message and continues talking to the girl. Just then, Yan Yue approaches her and asks, "Why did you ignore my message?" And Rand pulls him aside and says, "This client is very important to me. Be my fake boyfriend and help me out. I'll return your rent soon." Yan Yue, waiting for such a chance, quickly grabs her hand and shows people that she's his girlfriend. The girl says to him, "Your boyfriend looks pretty young. What class is he from?" And Rand responds, "Age doesn't matter when there's love. Love doesn't see age." Yan and Ayn Rand talk for a while, and when they return, Ayn Rand's client introduces her to another partner. The partner says, "I've never seen you in the company." And he was right, because Ayn Rand wasn't really part of their company. They just had the same name, so she thought she was an employee of the famous company. But when the truth comes out, her client says, "We'll talk about this later. Goodbye." And Rand starts running after her, but she trips and falls because of her high heels. She falls in such a way that her shirt tag is clearly visible. At that moment, her friend Bai Meng Yao arrives, lifts her up, and covers her shirt tag. She takes Ayn Rand to the washroom and comforts her, saying, "What would have happened if I hadn't come?" And Rand tells her, "Stop crying, nothing happened to me." And Rand invites her to her house, but Bai Meng Yao refuses, saying, "I have to go on a date." Saying this, she leaves. And Ran is on her way home, but drinks heavily because she didn't meet the investor and falls down. Yan Yue helps her up, and An Ran thanks him, saying, "You've helped me twice today. I'll bring drinks for you too." But when she goes to get the drinks, she realizes she doesn't have any money. However, Yan Yue pays for the drinks. Yan isn't drinking, but An Ran keeps drinking one after another. Yan offers to drop her home and says, "Tell me your house password." She says, "I doesn't remember," but then tells him, "I needs to go to the washroom." Yan takes her to his own house instead. Once they arrive, An Ran loses her senses and starts breaking things with happiness, running around. She gets very close to Yan, and as she starts to fall, he catches her. Accidentally, they kiss. As Ran tries to get up, she falls again on top of him and ends up vomiting on him. Yan Yue carefully puts her to bed and leaves the room. He looks at the mess An Ran made in his house. He goes to his room, and when Ran tries to sleep on him again, he gets up and moves to the sofa. After a while, he hears the sound of her vomiting again and gets up to clean the entire house. The next morning, when An Ran wakes up, she finds herself in bed and sees Yan looking at her. He says, "Do you remember what you did last night? You drank so much that you ended up falling asleep in my house. You did all of this." An Ran starts to hide, and then Yan brings her back and says, "Look, all these things that you destroy in my house, you need to pay rent for them too." Then An Ran says, "Are you joking with me? You want me to pay this much money?" Yan replies, "If you pay your rent on time, I won't take any money from you." Saying this, Yan walks into the room while An Ran is looking at her actions, wondering what she's done. Later, An Ran starts talking about her previous life, explaining how they started the company and how they met good friends. The person who started this company comes with his mom because they need investors, and his mom could invest. And Ran welcomes them warmly when they arrive, and she starts giving her fake compliments. The mom says, "Save some for next time too." Then they start visiting the company, and Hu Yingjun and his mom sit with An Ran to talk. Hu Yingjun says, "You bought this company, but haven't made a penny from it." And Ran replies, "We need an investor. If you invest in our game, it will become really popular." But the mom says, "If you guys want to work here, you'll need to pay the rent for this place." Saying this, the mom leaves. Hu Yingjun says, "I don't think she's even my real mom. Does any mom take rent from her son?" Just then, An Ran gets a call offering her a job. She tells Hu Yingjun about it, and he says, "I heard the company you got the offer from doesn't pay on time. And are you planning to leave your game project and join another company?" And Ran says, "What can I do? I have to pay rent everywhere." With that, An Ran goes home and starts eating once she gets there, while Yan Yue is practicing how to call her. Later, An Ran then sits down and starts using her phone when Yan comes in and says, "There are some rules for living here. First rule, your phone's volume can't be loud, and you'll have to agree to it." She replies, "Okay, I'll turn the volume down." Then, An Ran sits with Hu Yingjun to discuss company matters. An Ran says, "We haven't even found a dubbing artist for our game yet. Who will do the dubbing for us?" Hu Yingjun says, "Why don't we call Zhang Shan? He's an amazing dubbing artist." And Ran replies, "He's a celebrity. Why would he listen to us?" The next day, while An Ran is heading to the company, she gets a call from Hu Yingjun who says, "We found a dubbing artist." Hearing this, An Ran is really happy and says, "Okay, we'll meet him today." She happily enters the company, and Hu Yingjun arrives at the same time. She looks at him and says, "Hasn't your dubbing artist arrived yet?" He replies, "Look, here he comes." Then An Ran looks at Yan Yue and freezes because Yan Yue's other name is Mr. He Sha. She says to him, "You can never be He Sha." Yan replies, "Why can't I be He Sha?" As Hu Yingjun arrives, An Ran grabs him and asks, "Did you really want to work with him?" He says yes, so she says, "He's not even that professional." Ying asks, "Do you have any other options?" And Ran shakes her head negatively. Sometime later, An Ran calls Ying and says, "If you're free, take me somewhere." He says, "Okay, come downstairs and wait." She goes downstairs and starts waiting. When she finds out that Ying isn't in the car but Yan is sitting there, she asks, "Where's Ying?" Yan tells her, "He left already. Sit with me." So An Ran sits with him and says, "Your car is pretty new. Have you ever let anyone sit in the front seat before?" When Yan doesn't answer, she says, "I know, you're very handsome and rich." Yan replies, "Do you remember the night you had drinks at my house? What did you do that night?" She says, "Yes, I remember. I just broke some household things. So what? Did I do anything else?" Yan goes silent upon hearing her. When An Ran returns home, she listens to Yan Yue's 11 p.m. show but finds nothing interesting. Just then, Ying calls and says, "Come in the morning to be with Yan." She tells Yan, "Be ready in the morning," and Yan reluctantly agrees. After coming home, she searches to find out what Yan likes. She discovers that he likes a specific soup made only by his mom. Seeing this, she decides to make the same soup for him. Meanwhile, Jan wears earphones even when sleeping due to a particular reason. When he was a child, his parents used to fight a lot, which mentally affected him and made him sick. His mom gave him earphones to protect him from it all. In the morning, when Jan wakes up, Ayn Rand brings him soup and says, "This is homemade." He takes it, closes the door, and tastes it. He finds it delicious. After getting ready, he goes with Ayn Rand. Ayn Rand takes his car key and says, "You rest today, I'll drive." Jan doesn't object, and they both sit in the car. When they arrive, Jan's agent meets them at the entrance. He introduces himself to Ayn Rand and jokes, "I can't believe you managed to wake him up this early. Usually it's impossible." The agent adds, "Jiang Sha is also here." Hearing this, Ayn Rand is thrilled because she is a huge fan. Shortly after, Jiang Sha arrives and walks up to Jan, asking, "Who is she?" He even extends his hand towards Ayn Rand, but Jan quickly pulls Jiang Sha's hand back, saying, "She's my fan." After a brief greeting, Jiang Sha leaves, but Ayn Rand watches him go until he's out of sight. Jan calls out, "Are we going to record or not?" At first, Jan doesn't deliver his lines well during the recording, and nobody is impressed. Then, Ayn Rand gives him a toffee. After eating it, Jan's dubbing improves drastically, leaving everyone in the studio shocked. Even his agent comments, "Jan has never performed this outstandingly with me." After returning home, Ayn Rand listens to Jan's show when she suddenly hears a song playing from Jan's room. She goes to his place and asks, "Why did you play that song?" "It's my favorite." "What's it called?" Jan responds, "It's a song I wrote myself." And Rand asks, "Can you give it to me?" Jan asks, "Why?" She replies, "I want to use it in my game. How much will you charge?" Jan says, "I don't need money. Take it for free." And Rand is overjoyed, and seeing her happy makes Jan happy too. And Rand starts looking around Jan's house. He tries to push her out, but they end up very close, making them both nervous. Meanwhile, we see Meng, who is waiting for someone. She notices a boy sitting with a much older woman. It's none other than Ying with his mom. He is sweet-talking his mom, trying to persuade her to invest in his company, but it doesn't look like she's his mother. Meng thinks this woman might be his girlfriend. She loudly pretends to send a voice message saying, "A girl meets a boy online who immediately asked for money. Will the boy be loyal or fake?" She speaks loudly enough for his mom to hear. Hearing this, his mom decides not to invest. Ying is furious with Meng, but can't say anything to her in front of his mom. On top of that, Meng doesn't let it go and starts sending even louder voice texts to her friends. At this point, Ying is so frustrated that he says, "Can't you speak a bit slower?" Meng replies, "Yes, I'll speak slower when you start earning on your own." Ying's mom decides not to invest and leaves. Ying is furious with Meng. When Meng meets a guy she was supposed to go on a date with, Ying starts speaking up, saying, "Meng, aren't you married?" Meng exclaims, "What? Me? Married?" Ying says, "Yes, you're married. To Peng." This makes Meng furious, but Ying, being stubborn, sticks to his claim. The guy Meng was meeting even leaves after this. Meng, now enraged, tells Ying, "Don't come close to me again. If you do, I swear I'll hit you." Saying this, Meng storms off. The next day, Ayn Rand and Jan go to meet Mr. Wang for a project. Mr. Wang keeps looking at Ayn Rand in a strange way and even touches her repeatedly during their meeting. When Ayn Rand sits close to Mr. Wang during the meeting, Jan feels uncomfortable and stands up to leave. Ayn Rand gets up to leave with him, but Mr. Wang stops them and says, "There's a competition happening at our company. I think you two should join." And Rand replies, "Okay, we'll definitely come," and leaves. The following day, Ayn Rand brings Meng to her company, and Ying arrives too. Seeing him, Meng starts arguing with him. When Ayn Rand explains she's Isabella, Ying's mom, Meng feels very guilty. During the meeting, Meng can't stop staring at Jan and says, "Isn't he the same guy who pretended to be your boyfriend? If you don't like him, can I date him?" Ayn Rand responds, "Sure, go ahead." When Ying is leaving for some work, Meng comes along and asks, "Where are you going?" Ying replies, "I'm going to Jan's place." Meng insists on going with him and follows him to Jan's house. She gets quite close to Jan there. Later, when Jan's agent arrives and says, "Jiang is also here," Meng says, "I wish Ayn Rand was here. She's a big fan of Mr. Jiang." Seeing this, Ying forcibly takes Meng away, saying, "Did you really need to bring this up?" The next day, Ayn Rand receives a call from Mr. Wang about project work, telling her, "Come quickly." When she arrives at the company, she explains to everyone, "We have to continue working according to Mr. Wang's demands. And yes, their games have started trending, which makes everyone happy, When Yan visits Ran's house, she has a bad flu and turns her head to blow her nose with a tissue. At the same time, Yan notices a wound on her foot and goes to get a bandage. He applies the bandage and tells her to rest. She protests, "But I still have project work left." Yan says, "It's okay. I'll handle your proposal work." When Ran wakes up the next morning, Yan is cooking for her. While eating, she asks, "There's a nearby shop that sells very spicy food. Will you get it for me?" Yan responds, "Okay." Later, when Ran checks her proposal work, she finds that Yan has done an excellent job. Now we see a girl, named Tian Xin, visits Mr. Wang's office, and his assistant tells her, "Mr. Wang is waiting for you in his office for your last installment." Thinking about this, she goes to Mr. Wang's office. However, once there, Mr. Wang starts behaving inappropriately with her. Tian Xin manages to escape from there. Now we are introduced to a new character named Mr. Pei Jun, who is working on a project with the company. Lan Jie calls on Ran and tells her, "I really liked your project." Just then, Pei Jun arrives. He used to be An Ran's boyfriend, but had left her in the past, causing her immense pain. In a flashback, we see An Ran crying and pleading, "Don't leave me." However, in the present, Pei Jun acts as if nothing happened and speaks to her in a casual manner, as if unaware of their past. Suddenly, An Ran feels dizzy, and Yan takes her to the hospital. Later, he says, "You should also take a pregnancy test." When she asks, "Why?" Yan says, "Do you forget about that night?" Hearing this, she remembers that she kissed Yan that night and feels very embarrassed. In the next scene, Pei Jun and An Ran meet again, and Pei Jun tries to pressure her into a relationship. However, An Ran firmly refuses. Meanwhile, An Ran's company is thrilled because their team is rising to the top in an online game, and they celebrate the success enthusiastically. Later, when the power goes out at An Ran's house, she goes to Yan's place where he cooks noodles for her, and they discuss their project. This moment brings back memories for Yan of how An Ran used to bring him books and other fond memories. The next day, Miss Lan arrives with Pei Jun and announces to everyone, Pei Jun has signed a contract with the company and will handle all deals. This angers An Ran. In a meeting, Pei Jun bombards her with difficult questions, but An Ran confidently answers each one. Later, Yan surprises An Ran by bringing her flowers and preparing delicious food. When she sees all this, she is delighted. Yan then asks, "How is the food?" She responds, "I never thought it would be this delicious." Just then, An Ran receives a call from Pei Jun about an issue with their game, urging her to come quickly. She informs Yan and rushes off. At the meeting, Pei Jun sternly says, "Your game isn't at a high enough level. This is the last chance. If it reaches the target level, the collaboration will continue. Otherwise, it's over. Also, you need to change your dubbing artist." Yan helps An Ran by meeting with an agent and persuading him to agree to a plan, which eventually results in the online game reaching a high level. Everyone is overjoyed with their success. When An Ran returns home, she finds everything beautifully decorated and food prepared. She eats happily, realizing it was all done by Yan. Impressed by everyone's hard work, Ying grants the team a vacation. One day, Yan confesses to An Ran, "I like you." An Ran is stunned. The next day, during a conversation between Meng and An Ran, they share their secrets about Yan and Ying. Later, An Ran receives a call from Yan's number, but it is someone else telling her Yan has had an accident and is in serious condition at the hospital. Shocked, An Ran rushes to the hospital, where she sees a room where someone has died. Just then, Yan calls out to her from across the room. Seeing him, she breaks down in tears, and Yan assures her, "I'm fine, but tell me, will you be my girlfriend?" And Ran says yes. And Ran and Yan go out together to buy decorations for their home. Yan plans to move An Ran in permanently, and the two decide to live together. The next day, An Ran finds out that their game has reached a high level and excitedly tells Ying, "Let's pretend to be sad in front of our colleagues and then surprise them with the news that our game has reached a high level." On the other side, Yan signs a contract with a voiceover company because he has decided to reveal his face publicly. Meanwhile, An Ran is planning an outing with her team for recreation when Meng suggests, "Invite Yan too. It wouldn't look good if we go without your boyfriend." Hearing this, An Ran messages Yan, who replies, "Okay." The next day, they all head out for the trip, but An Ran and Yan do not sit together to keep their relationship a secret. Meng and Ying go fishing, while Yan joins An Ran and asks, why don't you want to reveal our relationship? Anran responds, I want us to announce it when we get married. Later, during a group night party, Anran discloses her relationship with Yan, making everyone happy. After returning from the trip, Yan prepares for his voice show appearance. During the interview, his headphones are removed and he gives a heartfelt interview. Following this, he rushes to Anran, lifts her up, and she tells him, I was making soup for you. They go into a tent together, drink soup, and discuss various campaigns. The next day, while Anran is on a date with Yan, she receives a call regarding a payment demand, which she initially thinks is genuine but turns out to be from scammers, and Ran reports the incident at the police station. Elsewhere, Meng forces Ying to go out to a gaming spot, but Ying completely ignores her and continues playing. This angers Meng, and she confronts him. At that moment, a guy approaches Meng and says, I booked this place. This leads to a minor argument, and the guy then comments, I didn't realize such a pretty girl had booked it. Meng becomes furious, but Ying intervenes by paying the guy off and walking away. Later, Meng asks him, why did you say you weren't my boyfriend? Ying replies, well, I'm not. Upset, Meng grabs her purse and leaves. Meanwhile, Anran goes to a restaurant with Yan. Shortly after, she receives a call from the police station and explains everything to Yan, who reassures her, it's okay, we'll come back here later. Right now, the police station is more important. After returning from the police station, Yan cooks a meal for Anran, which she enjoys immensely. He also gives her a beautiful necklace. Suddenly, Yan's mom arrives, sees them together, and is shocked. She remarks, so, you're the girl who rented our house? Did you two fall in love back then? Yan groans. Mom, why are you saying this? Embarrassed, Anran leaves. The next day at the company, Anran meets Chen Rui, a girl visiting due to the game's popularity. Elsewhere, Yan prepares for another show and is handed a script filled with negative remarks. Yan protests, I won't say this. During the interview, he refuses to follow the script and leaves right after. Yan's mom visits Anran at her house. Anran welcomes her warmly and they chat. However, when Yan's mom brings up their age difference, saying, you're 6 years older than him, are you sure you want this relationship? Yan is much younger and doesn't have a business. Anran feels disheartened. The next day, after meeting with some clients at the company, Anran visits Yan's studio. Yan shares, there's no real work here. Anran comforts him. Ran puts headphones on Yan and then asks, why does this happen to you? Yan explains, my parents used to fight a lot, which affected me mentally. That's why my mom always made me wear these headphones, and now I've become used to them. When Ran and Yan return home, Yan's mom gifts Ran some strawberries and says, it's late now, you both should get some sleep. Ran replies, thank you for the strawberries, and says goodbye. Then Yan's mom tells Yan, look, she is 6 years older than you and has an established business. You are still young and don't even have a business. Will she really stay with you? Yan responds, Mom, it's not your issue. I will manage it myself. However, his mom keeps repeating her concerns, which irritates Yan, and he walks away. Ran overhears their entire conversation. The next day, Ran informs Yan about a business trip and leaves. Meanwhile, Meng starts ignoring Ying. When she arrives at the company, Ying tries calling her multiple times, but she doesn't respond, and instead invites everyone else to lunch. Ying says, I will come too, but Meng replies, we have a project discussion there. You don't need to be involved, making it clear she is ignoring him. During the business trip with Lanjie, Ran asks, how long will we be there? Lanjie replies, we will return by tomorrow. Ran is eager to come back soon because it's Yan's birthday, and she wants to wish him. The meetings go well, and the local leader invites them for dinner, but Lanjie declines, saying, Ran needs to get home early, maybe next time. Meanwhile, Meng continues to ignore Ying, despite him following her around. She doesn't give him any attention. Ran and Lanjie finalize their contract with the company and prepare to leave. Ran asks, can I leave now? Lanjie responds, yes, go ahead. Ran rushes to the airport but misses her flight. She calls Yan and says, I'm sorry, I arranged your birthday celebration, but now I can't come. My flight is delayed. Yan replies, it's okay, we'll celebrate on another day. The next day, Yan goes to a restaurant, but his birthday cake starts melting. He leaves it at a store and heads to pick Ran up from the airport. Meanwhile, Ran has already reached the restaurant. When Yan arrives at the airport, Ran isn't there. At the restaurant, Ran realizes it is closed, but then Yan shows up. She hugs him as he brings the cake and asks him to make 3 wishes. The following day, Yan tells his mom, I have decided to live with Ran because I cannot live without her. Her age doesn't matter to me. Yan's mom replies, okay, son. Ran also came to see me and told me the same thing. Both of you, stay happy. Later, Ran tells Yan, I'm going to my mom's. please receive my parcels. Yan is shocked to see so many parcels. Later, Ying visits Yan and shares his story about Meng ignoring him. Suddenly, Ying receives a picture and rushes to the location where Meng is boxing. Ying challenges her to a match but loses. He practices more and returns to challenge Meng again. However, when a guy tries to flirt with Meng, saying, "Wow, what a beautiful thing I'm standing next to," Ying tries to fight him but ends up defeated again. Meng tends to his injuries, wraps his bandages, and says, "If you had paid him off like always, this could have ended." Ying replies, "I love you. Will you be my girlfriend?" Meng responds, "Yes." On the other hand, Yan goes to meet Ran at her house and Ran is shocked to see him. Yan prepares delicious food for everyone and they all enjoy it. Ran's parents also find out about their relationship and are very happy for them. On their way back, Ran sees Yan's posters and receives news on Weibo about Meng and Ying becoming a new couple, making them both very happy. Ying congratulates everyone for the game promotion and treats them, bringing special food for Meng. When Yan opens the fan page, he sees that everyone is speaking against him. He responds to them, which affects Ran's game since Yan was the dubbing artist for it. Yan goes to the office and asks, "What is this issue?" They reply, "It's a copyright issue." Yan asks, "Don't you have the audiobook copyright?" This situation affects Ran's game as well, and people demand that Yan be fired. The negative comments start to affect Yan mentally, and he becomes tense and collapses. Ran arrives, puts headphones on him to calm him, and takes him home to rest. She offers him soup, and Yan says, "I don't know why I reacted to people's comments. Because of me, your company suffered a lot. Please leave me alone." Ran tells Ying, "Only someone who knows about my and Yan's relationship could do this. Tell Miss Lan to give us 2 days. I'll find a solution." Meanwhile, Yan and Hei Sha are considered for removal from the voice show. The management decides, Hei Sha never listened to us and after all this, we should terminate his contract. Lan Ji tells Yan, "You both need to end your relationship." The company is also contemplating their next steps. Someone says, "Yan worked as a dubbing artist for our game without charge." Yan returns home, feeling defeated, and tells Ran, "I want to eat food you cooked." They eat together, and Yan feels at peace. However, the next morning, Ran reads Yan's post, which states, "I am leaving all my projects and resigning from my dubbing job." Before leaving, Yan entrusts his work to Jiang, saying, "You will handle the dubbing artist work for this company now." It is revealed that Chen Rui was involved at someone's request. The same leader who wanted to make a contract with them earlier had sent her. When Ran returns home, she misses Yan and waters his plants. Just then, she receives a call and learns that someone has attacked their company server. When they ask Chen Rui, she denies any knowledge, but she is aware of the situation. Ran and Ying sit together and discuss what to do as the hacker has demanded money from them. The next day, Ran has a meeting with another company. Lan Ji and Pei Jun tell her, "If people don't go online, there will be huge losses. The company employees are not going online." Chang says, "I have tracked the hacker's IP address but don't know how to remove them." Ran had suggested the same solution and says, "I'm ready to take the risk and move from online to offline work until the situation improves, and then bring it back online." Elsewhere, Yan meets his friend who tells him, "I have heard a lot about you and none of it was your fault. I've opened an animation studio here. You should come tomorrow. We can work on many great projects together." Meanwhile, as Ran is leaving the company, everyone gathers around her and says, "Don't go." She responds, "I'm just going on vacation. I'll be back." At home, Ran is feeling restless and her dad comes in. He makes her noodles and says, "Sweetheart, I know you're worried, but I also know that you're very brave." He leaves, but Ran still feels sad. Meanwhile, Yan goes to his friend's company for a voiceover job. All the girls are fascinated by him. Yan does such an excellent job that everyone keeps praising him, and they are all very happy, especially Lin Ran, who becomes quite enamored with him. Yan performs all their voiceovers, and they love his work. Lin Ran brings him food, but he refuses to take it from her hand and leaves. On the other side, Chen Rui brings her resignation letter to Ying. Ying says, "Once the company's situation improves, everyone will get paid." Chen Rui replies, "I'm not leaving because of the salary. I just need rest." Despite everyone trying to convince her to stay, but she leaves. Lin Ran, Yan, and their friends throw a party to celebrate the success of their game's promotion. They ask Yan, "Do you have a girlfriend?" Yan's friend says, "Come on, tell us. With all these rumors going around, I'm getting jealous. Who's your girlfriend?" Yan doesn't say anything and leaves. While browsing Weibo, Ran learns the names of some hackers who are from the same company that had previously tried to form a partnership with them. She tells Chang and Tian, "You two have to help me with the investigation, but don't tell anyone else about this." Lin Ran and Yan's friend visit Yan at his house, but Yan is asleep. Lin checks on him and finds that he has a high fever. Yan says, "Please, you guys should leave." Yan's friend goes, but Lin stays and asks, "If you have a girlfriend, why are you alone? Did you two break up?" Yan replies, "No, we didn't break up." Just then, Yan's friend returns and takes Lin outside. At home, Ran is thinking about Yan when she suddenly receives a call from Pei Jun, who says, "I need to meet you regarding a project." She goes to meet him, and Pei Jun advises, "You should buy a new server given the current situation." Ran responds, "No, I need to find that hacker first." Pei Jun then says, "I also know about your relationship with Yan." Ran replies, "I don't want to talk about it, please." Pei Jun says, "Okay, I just want to, you give advice," and then leaves. Later, Yan goes to his friend's company, and everyone thanks him for promoting their game. Then, Yan comes across a post revealing that Ran has been listening to nature sounds and doing the same activities that he does. Seeing this, he misses Ran even more. Just then, Ying calls and tells him, "Someone has hacked into our company." Yan, hearing this, decides to return. He tells his friend, "I'm going back. Handle the rest of the project yourself. Goodbye." Ran visits Yan's house and finds some books while cleaning. She realizes that Yan had liked her from the start. Yan arrives and Ran asks, "Why didn't you ever tell me about this?" Yan replies, "I just never had the chance." He apologizes for leaving her alone, and Ran says, "I'm sorry too. I made you leave so my game wouldn't be ruined." They embrace each other. Yan records everything, recalling how he met Ran and how she would borrow books from the library. As he remembers, he makes a promise to himself, "I'll never leave Ran again." Tian arrives at the investigation site because Ran had sent her there. Suddenly, she spots Chen Rui meeting with the same boss who had previously tried to form a partnership with their company. Tian quickly takes pictures of them together and sends them to Ran. Ying, who is with Ran, also sees the pictures. Ran tells Tian, "Don't tell anyone about this." Ran and Ying meet with another company leader who explains, "I have also experienced similar fraud in my game, which led to it being hacked." Ran asks, "So, just like you found a solution, is there any way you can help us too?" Yan returns to his voice studio, and his manager is delighted to see him. Ran meets Chen Rui, but acts completely normal to avoid revealing that she knows everything. Later, Ran tells Yan, "As we get closer to success, more strange things are happening." Yan replies, "Yeah, my day at the studio wasn't great either. They're talking about taking things to court even though the copyright issue is their own problem." Ran responds, "Yeah, that's true. Anyway, I'm really hungry. What will you make for me?" Yan happily agrees to cook for her. Meng and Ying talk privately about how they still don't have any leads on the hacker. Meng reassures everyone, Ran will figure something out. Ran encourages Yan, "You should start your voice work again." Yan asks, "Who's going to listen to me now?" Ran replies, "Just give it a shot." Motivated, Yan returns to the studio, where his agent and colleagues are thrilled to see him and say, "Yan, don't ever leave us again, okay?" Later, Chen Rui meets Ran and reveals everything, explaining who was behind her actions. Ran responds, "Chen Rui, the doors of my company will always be open for you." Yan visits Ran's home, cooks for her, and they share some heartfelt conversations. Yan returns to his studio for a meeting with another company. He and his colleagues present their case, and after hearing everything, the other company agrees to secure proper copyrights and signs a contract with Yan. Everyone is ecstatic because Yan's voice work is back on track. Ran informs her colleagues, "Many companies are standing with us now because they've faced the same issues. We'll bring these hackers to justice soon." Ran and Ying visit numerous companies to share their plan, and every company agrees to stand with them. While Ran and Ying are in the car, Yan calls to say, "I'm coming to pick you up." Ran looks ahead and sees Yan. She gets out of the car and walks over to him. Ying teases them a bit before leaving. Ran and Yan discuss their company's progress and how things are finally improving. Meng calls Ran, but Ran is in the washroom due to diarrhea. Later, Ran tells Meng, "Yan asked me to move in with him." Meng responds, "Okay, take care and figure it out." Ran says, "I'll think about it. I haven't decided yet." Eventually, Ran moves in with Yan and asks, "Will you cook for me?" Yan replies, "Sure." Ran adds, "I have a lot of rules though. Will you follow them?" Yan smiles and says, Okay, whatever you say." Ran and Ying later inform their colleagues that they've tracked the hacker and that their game promotion is going well. Everything is finally getting better. Yan excels at his work in the voice studio, and his colleagues are very happy. Yan declares, "I'll work as an independent boy for you all." On the other side, all the company members are congratulating Ran, saying, "Thanks to you, we've regained our game forever." Meanwhile, Ran says, "There's still one person missing, and that's Chen Rui." At that moment, Chen Rui arrives, and everyone loves her new look and gives her a very warm and heartfelt welcome. Later, Tian, Meng, and Chang receive an offer from another company, saying, "You will be given triple the salary compared to your previous company." They reply, "Okay, sir. We'll get back to you with our response after some time." Ran works at another company for a while, but due to its strict rules, she decides to leave. Then Tian, Chang, and Meng come together and start their own separate company. During this time, Ran also meets a drawing artist whom she hires for their new company. Soon, their company starts making great progress, and Ran and the others are very happy. On the other side, Yan secures copyright rights, making everyone very happy. He then resumes dubbing for Ran again. Ying introduces Meng to his parents, and his mom and dad really like Meng. They agree to make her their daughter-in-law. Yan proposes to Ran and puts a ring on her finger, completing their couple. Ying and Meng visit Ran's house, and later, Yan and Ran go shopping together for their wedding. They select their outfits. Yan chooses a black suit, while Ran selects a white gown. Finally, the big day arrives, and they appear as bride and groom in front of everyone, looking stunning. They have a photo shoot at the same university where they previously studied. Yan compliments Ran a lot, making her very happy, and everyone is delighted. At this moment, Ying also proposes to Meng, increasing her happiness even more. He puts a ring on her finger, and the bride and groom have a photo shoot with all their colleagues who are overjoyed. And that's how our drama ends, with a happy ending. If you want more dramas like this, like the video and subscribe to the channel.